Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to learn about lists. So this is the chart from my previous video, and in our previous videos we have seen these primitive data types like strings, integers, floats and booleans. And in our previous video we saw lists. We saw how we can add or how we can manipulate lists, and now today we are going to see tuples. Okay, so tuples. In our previous video, we saw primitive data types. Now today we will discuss about tuples, which are a part of non-primitive data types. Tuples are non-mutable and they cannot be modified or changed. Tuples are similar to lists but just wrapped with these parentheses, as you can see. And tuples are one of the key concepts in Python programming. So syntax of these tuples, okay, there is a mistake, I wrote lists there, so you can see the syntax there. Okay, so let's get started and let's explore tuples.
Hey guys, so here we are in our computer. Okay, so today we are going to learn about tuples. Tuples is known to be a key concept in Python programming. It is one of the most important concepts in Python programming. So we are going to see this in today's video. So as usual, open Visual Studio Code. So I have this code from my previous video. If you haven't watched my previous video yet, then you can find the link in the I button now. And if you haven't accessed my Python programming playlist, then you can find the link in the description below. Okay, so with that said, let us continue with today's video. So let me first clear this off. So in our previous video we saw how we can create lists. So today we will see how we can create tuples. And as you have saw in the presentation, tuples are non-mutable. Okay, so they cannot be changed or updated. So let us just create a tuple first. So okay, I will create, so we have this tuple here now. So now, just like list, tuples can be created with using these parentheses. Okay, so the items between the wrapped between these parentheses are known to be as tuples. Okay, and if I will change these rounded brackets with square brackets, then this is known to be a list. Okay, so that's the simple visual difference in these tuples and lists, but there is a lot of functionality difference. Okay, so in our lists we used to add some elements with using append method. Okay, but lists were mutable and tuples are not, so we cannot add an element or remove an element directly from the tuple. So what we need to do is to update or to change the tuple. First of all, we need to convert it to list, and in our previous video we saw a function called list. Okay, so this function is used to convert an object to list. Okay, so let us convert this fruits to list and let us store it in, let's say, A. So now we have a list of fruits. Okay, so we have a list of fruits and the value of that is stored in A. Okay, so A is equal to list of fruits now. So now let us add, we can now append, or we can use remove or pop or any method of your choice you can use here, because now this fruits or this A is a list. Okay, so this list method converted these fruits to a list, so this A is a list now. Okay, so you can now convert this, now you can now append anything you want. So let us append, let's say I want to append banana here. Okay, so now let me append it, and what we can do is we can store this. Okay, so we can store this in, let's say, fruits, and we can simply convert this to a tuple again. So now what we have done here, tuple is another built-in function in our Python programming which will convert the given object to tuple. Okay, so now what we did is we took our fruits tuple, then we converted it to a list, because as you know that tuples are non-mutable, so we cannot add elements to that. So what we did is we converted this list to first of all we converted this tuple to list, and then we added the data which we wanted to add or which we want to add. Then what we did is we converted this a list or this list to tuple again, and we stored it into fruits. Okay, so that's so simple, no problem in that. Now if we will print our fruits, okay, if we will print our fruits, then you can say you can see here the banana is added. Okay, so just like that you can add items. Similarly you can remove items. Okay, so similarly we can remove, let's say I want to remove this guava here. Okay, so you can similarly remove these items as well. So you can see there is no guava in this tuple yet. Okay, so just like that you can add or you can remove items from your tuples. Okay, so now we have learned how to add or remove or how to use methods on these tuples. Now we can also access the characters or items using these square brackets and this 0. Okay, so with using this we will access the first letter. Okay, so first character or item. So our first item is apple. Then we can go from 0 to, let's say, 4. So you can see that we have apple, we have guava, we have grapes, and we have jackfruit. Okay, but not this pineapple because its index is 5. Its index is 4, and that's why we have up to jackfruit, because 4 is considered to be, if we pass 4, then the item from 0 to 3rd will be printed. Okay, so that's why we got this. We didn't got this pineapple here. So now we have this. Okay, so we can access characters, as you know, and you can also provide the step here if you want. So if you use this empty here, then what will happen is the Python what will happen is it will start from 0, it will go up to the end of the tuple, and with interval of 2. So it will start from 0, go up to the end of tuple with interval of 2. So let me just print this. Okay, so as you can see, we have apple, we don't have guava, we have grapes, we don't have jackfruit, we have pineapple. So just like that we can print, we can access the characters or items from these tuples. Okay, so we have completed this as well. So our second point. Now we move on to our third point. So our third point was updating something. Okay, so you can similarly update, okay, with using the same concept that we did. Okay, so just let me, okay, so with using this same concept, what we can do is we can change any element. Okay, so what will happen if we don't add this? Okay, so let me just comment this out. Okay, so if I will do like this, if I will try to access this first element, and if I will try to change this first element with, let's say, mango, then Python will give me an error. Okay, so let me print this fruits now. Okay, so now I have tried to change the first element with mango. So this apple should be changed with mango, but it will not, because lists are mutable and tuples are not. So that's why this syntax is supported in lists but not in tuples. Okay, so that's what we have here. So that's what we need to do. If we want to, we need to again convert this to list, and then we have to change the values like this, and then you have to again convert the list to a tuple. So just like that you can achieve the output, okay, of that problem. So we have this. Then we have unpacking of arrays. Okay, sorry, of tuples. So you can unpack these tuples and lists as well. Okay, so if we have list, okay, let's say if I have numbers, okay, if I have a list, let's say numbers from 1 2 3 4 and 5. So I have this list of numbers from 1 to 5. Then what I can do is I can unpack this list. Let's say first. Okay, so I have first, then I have second. Okay, so if I will store, if I will create these two variables, first and second, and if I will provide this numbers list to them, then what will happen, let me print the first, okay, and then the second, okay, so second. So now what will happen is, you can see the output is, so there are too many values to unpack, so I got an error. So basically what I can do is I can give star and other, okay, and a comma here, okay. So with this syntax we should be able, okay. So as you can see, we have printed the first, okay. So we got this first element here as stored in first, then for second we got second element stored in this second, and this other as well, okay. So we have this other as well. So if I will print this other, so now with using this star, what will happen, that it will, first of all, if I will use this first and I will unpack the list with this first or two variables, let's say, then the list will not be able, because there are 5 items, then how can we divide these 5 items in these 2 items? So what will happen is, each item will store each variable will store a single value only, okay. And if you provide this star here, this asterisk here, then the Python will get an idea that I have to store the remaining items to this variable basically, okay. So you can unpack your items like this in your lists and your tuples as well. So let me just rerun it. As you can see, we have 3, 4, 5, okay. So this first contains this 1, this second contains this 2, and this other contains this 3, 4, 5 list, okay. So you can store values like this, or you can unpack your lists like this, okay. So let me just clear you this again. So if I want to unpack this list ranging from 1 to 3, okay, so I want these 3 elements separate in separate variables and these 2 elements in separate variables, okay. Then what I can do is, I can give star here, and then I can say first elements first, okay. And then I can simply do what I can simply do is, first of all, what I need to do is, I have to store this first here. Then what I can do is, I can store, let's say, the last, okay, last, and I can say numbers, okay. So there is a problem here. So we have to give this the single letter here, the single variable here, because if we give these 2 variables, Python will be confused that what it have to do, because this first will take all these values, this last will take this value if we don't provide any. So that's why it is confused. So you can do like this. So now what will happen is, we will get the list up to 1 to 4, and this last element will be stored in this last. So first will store this value and last will store this value. So let me just print those first, okay. So we have first, and let me also print the last as well. So let me print this last. Now we have this first and this last. So let me run this. As you can see, we have a list of items ranging from 1 to 4 and 5 stored in this last variable. So just like that, we have did this with our numbers. So now let's do the same with our tuple fruits. So let's rerun this, okay. So as you can see, we have items ranging from 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have this pineapple stored in this separate last variable. But now you can see this is a list, okay. So this unpacking gave us a list of these elements, and it stored the last element separately. So just like that, you can unpack this in different variables. So you can have A, then you can have B, then you can have C, then you can have all the other elements stored in other, okay. So now what you have is, you have ABC as these 3 items, and this other will store these 2 values, okay. And if we have more, like mango, let me add mango here. So now it will store these 3 values in other, and ABC will have these values each, okay. So now let me run these, or let me print this A, B and C. So if I can print these like this with using commas, and let me also print this other here. So now let me run this. So now as you can see, we have apple, guava and grapes, and this is not a list, okay, nor a tuple either, okay. So these are the elements printed separately with using these variables a, b and c. So that's why we can say apple, guava and grapes. And we have this other, which is a list of these items ranging from this jackfruit to mango, okay. So just like that, you can unpack the lists or tuples, okay. So you can unpack your lists and tuples for convenient way, okay, in this convenient way or manner. So just like that, you can unpack your lists. So now, or your tuples. Similarly, we can add two lists, okay. So let me just create this tuple up to this point, and if we have another tuple, let's say this, and let me make it another, okay. So if we have this fruits and if we have this another, these are two tuples, then what I can do is I can also store the value, okay, or I can create all fruits. Let's say I have all fruits named tuple, which will be the addition of these two tuples basically. So if I will print this, okay, if I will print these fruits first, then I will print this another, and then I will print this all fruits, okay. So here, as you can see, let me run this code. So as you can see, we have this tuple, which is this fruits, we have this another tuple, which is this another, okay. Then we have this total tuple, okay. So all fruits tuple, which is the addition of these two tuples. So you can add these two tuples, then you can also multiply them. Let me run this, okay. So basically not with like this, you have to multiply the, let's say you have multiplied the fruits with 2. Let me just run this. So now you can see we have apple, guava, grapes and apple, guava, grapes, this fruits 2 times, okay. Now we have stored these fruits 2 times. Let me just print this all fruits. Now as you can see, we have this same tuple 2 times because we have multiplied these fruits with 2, okay. So just like that, you can store addition of 2 tuples, you can store the product of a tuple, or you can basically you can multiply a tuple with a number and you can store that in some other variable. So just like that, you can repeat your tuples as well. So with that, we have learned how to add items, how to remove items, how to access items. Now let us loop over this fruits, okay. So we have this fruits. Now let us use loops. So, or let us change the tuple and let us create another tuple. So we have a tuple, we can also use this range function, okay. So from 1 I want up to 10 or 11 basically, so it will go up to 10. Now if I will print this tuple, so if I will print this tuple, what will happen is we will get this range here. So let me just convert this to a tuple, okay. Now let me run it. So as you can see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So we have these items in our tuple now, okay. So you no need to add a single item like this 1 2 3 4. You can also use this range function and then you can convert this range function to a tuple. Now let us loop over this tuple. So if I will create a tuple where let's say numbers, then I can loop over it for number in numbers, similarly as we did in our lists, and we can simply print this number. So what we are doing here is we are accessing each number from this numbers and we are printing that number simply. So we will get 1 to 10 numbers basically. So just like that, you can access any tuple, okay. So let me just change this tuple with, let's say we have cars, okay. So if I will have Swift, if I have McLaren, or let's say BMW, then I have another one, let's say Audi, okay. So if I have these 3 cars, I can also loop over them and you can see these 3 names printed, okay. So just like that, you can loop over a list, okay, or a tuple. So sorry, I have list here, so let me change this to a tuple first. Okay, so now we have a tuple, and similarly we can loop over this tuple as well. So just like that we can do anything, or we can do almost everything that we can do with lists. But to do all those functions we need to convert this tuple first to a list, and then we can perform all those operations we performed on lists, and then we can again convert the list where we have performed the operations to a tuple, and then we can use that tuple. So tuples are basically non-mutable. Again I am telling you that tuples are non-mutable, that they cannot be changed, they cannot be modified basically. So you cannot, if you are using a tuple in your application, okay, then the reason behind that is you by mistake you don't misuse that data, or you don't change that data by any chance, okay. So for that you use an tuple. So let me create a tuple again. So we have this num, let's say a b c, okay. So I wanted to store these strings here, okay. So now if we have these numbers, okay, and if you are developing an application, then by any chance or by any mistake, if you just simply change this let's say first or the second element, okay, with let's say t, then the tuple will give you an error. It won't change the actual element, okay. So if I will print this num, okay, as you can see, tuple object does not support item assignment because this is non-mutable. That's why you will not be able to update, or you will not be able to change any element in the tuple later on, okay. So that's why these tuples are used, that you want to store some data which will not be changed, okay, which will be not changed or modified later. So that's why we use tuples, okay. So just like that we can use tuples, and with this we have successfully completed our today's video which was on tuples. So thank you for watching guys. I will see you in the next video.